Welcome to Rad2, another daily reader for Reddit. Like and subscribe for daily Reddit videos. TIL that millennial dads are spending 3 times as much time with their kids than their fathers spent with them. Back in 1982, 43% of fathers admitted they'd never changed a diaper. Today, that number is down to about 3%. Are millennials killing the crappy dad industry? I wonder how much of it can be explained simply by necessity. I know a lot of crappy dads my age, but they spend a lot of time with their kids. Well, probably more than their fathers spent with him anyway. A lot more women are working, and choosing to have children and a career. Guess what, if you and your spouse both have jobs, there's no stay-at-home wife, husband. You either end up having other people watch them, babysitters or daycare, or you arrange your schedules such that one of you is available to watch the kids. Like I said, I know some crappy dads my age, but they spend a lot of time with their kids because their wives work, get tired from work, and have lives too. Are millennials killing the heartwarming movie where dad learns to spend less time at work and more time with family industry? That's better. First way sounds too positive. This is the headline we're looking for. I want a movie that's the cynical opposite of that. At the start of the movie, the dad quits his high-paying job to spend less time at work so he can spend more time with his kids. At first it's great. The dad and kids enjoy spending time together. Then they start hitting financial issues. They sell their house and move into a smaller one. The kids are disappointed when they don't get new iPhones for their birthdays. The kids start to miss their former lifestyle and the things they had. In the end, the moral of the story is that sometimes making lots of money is more important than spending time with your family. This reminds me of an episode of House where a 4-year-old kid was diagnosed with being on the autism spectrum and both parents quit their jobs to stay home with him and manage his apparently overwhelming preschool at-home education. I was, WTF, how do they make money? And of course, they still live in their palatial house. So are writers that out of touch, or do they just not care? Well, the writers did have a dangerous psychopath, drug addict, felon, mental patient be allowed to continue to treat patients at a hospital. So, my dad changed my diaper once and still complains about it 22 years later. Edit, guys, I'm 22. It's actually insane. Also, changing diapers shouldn't be the metric of being a good dad. Changing diapers is not even close to the hardest part about raising little ones. Yes, my mother-in-law would say dumb crap like don't expect him to help with diapers. He doesn't like babies, and you better get some sleep. He won't be getting up with you in the middle of the night if he has to work. First, there's more to parenting. Second, my reply was always, I know your son in a much different way than you do. That man held his baby girl in his arms and I knew it was all over. He changed every diaper while we were in the hospital because I had surgery and couldn't get up as fast. He even changed her first poo, and that is the worst. He would get up and do bottle feeds without me ever asking him. Now Shush is 3 and my grown man husband climbs into her pink loft bed with all her squishy stuffies to read her Doc McStuffins stories every night without fail. Seeing him interact with our kids is the most amazing thing I have ever witnessed and makes him an amazing father. The hardest part is getting them to go the frick to sleep. You should try the time-honored classic read by Samuel L. Jackson called Go the Frick to Sleep. Available at Barnes & Noble. Edit. Thank you to the kind stranger for a silver award. Why do people like this even have kids? I have a crappy father too. My sympathies. Social convention. I was born in the 70s and my parents were born just pre-war and during the war. So not quite boomers either. It's important to realize the level of social change with respect to the many potential causes of mental illness and emotional instability that lead to crappy parenting and social choices in general. Our parents grew up with lead paint, parents who drank during pregnancy, environmental pollution on a scale so epic that rivers routinely caught fire, quack medicine at a level that makes modern naturopathy seem quaint. Heaped on top of those elements, all of which can essentially retard someone's neurological development, particularly their emotional development, by affecting prefrontal cortex development. You also have generations of insane beliefs that, due to neuroplasticity, people became dependent upon for their sense of security, which is why the tribal strength of numbers unit exists. One of the beliefs that made people secure across cultural divisions was the notion of expertise in Authoritarianism. People were taught that if someone was in a position of authority, it had to be due to them being a better person. This engendered hardcore trust beliefs in people like police, doctors, the law, politicians, etc. that only held up due to a lack of statistical tracking and the inability to rapidly share information. Just as the printed word and top-down power abusers helped spawn the Industrial Revolution, television and the rise of fascism helped spawn civic engagement and social progress via methodological improvement. This is now becoming the ethos of the modern generation by necessity. The generation growing up on the internet realizes that our beliefs are too disparate and conflicting, and too often at odds with double-blind scientific method, to be dependable governance mechanisms as a consequence. The ethos of the modern generation becomes more at odds with the old. My dad acted like I was emasculating myself when I changed my daughter's diaper. I don't get what the problem is. www.bbc.com. I know it's Piers Morgan, so it's a low freaking bar to clear. But to try and emasculate James freaking Bond for being a decent human being is so goddamn absurd. What a freaking sack of dried nuts. Piers Morgan is soft as frick though. Seriously, who the hell is looking at him for advice on how to be manly? For real, Piers made that comment as if he's the epitome of manliness. Dude looks like a condom filled with cottage cheese. My in-laws are in town. They both make a point of making snarky comments when they see a burnt-out light bulb that hasn't been changed, or if the snow hasn't been shoveled out of the driveway when they drop in unexpectedly. It was almost a worse reaction when I was changing my son's diapers before he got potty trained. Like, how is this weirdo spending his time? My wife and I work 40+ hours a week. Each have one day a week at home with our 2-year-old. We work 4 10s and each get our own day off with him, so he's only in daycare 3 days a week. And we spend our weekends as a family. Since neither of them, or my parents, did any of those things when we were kids, I can cut their ignorance of how we spend our time a little slack. They're also extremely old school. Like, Miller's happy to bring up how she's never pumped her own gas. With pride. Same with Phil about changing diapers. But I suspect our kid will be better off with an occasional burnt-out light bulb than having no memories of fun times with their family when they grow up. They should only open their mouths enough to ask you where the step stool is. And then they should change the damn light bulb. We're all in this together. I agree. When I was in the hospital giving birth to our son, my dad and stepmom went to our house to take care of our dogs. While they were there, they cooked and froze several meals for us, changed light bulbs, air filters, organized and cleaned my house. We didn't ask. They saw it needed to be done and did it because they saw we needed help. Family should take care of family. My dad did it sometimes, but still brings it up all the time, as if I should be genuinely grateful. To be fair, his dad apparently had absolutely no interest in him until he was about 14 and could start coming up to the pub. English working class. So I think the progress is there. I'm sure I won't be a perfect dad either if I have kids. But I won't make constantly homophobic jokes either. Standard reply for anything I'm going through with my son. Been there, done that. Wrote the book on it. Even my mom looks at him like, yeah, okay buddy. My father-in-law wants me to have kids because I'm Brazilian and they're Dutch and he wants exotic grandkids. His words. And all the time he says he's gonna help us take care of the child. He didn't do crap to raise the kids. They don't even remember him playing with them. Not even once. And the grandchildren he has now, he does the same. Doesn't give a crap about them and he tells me he will help. I roll my eyes so hard when he says that. I see my brain. Grandkids are people, not Pokemon, lol. I certainly see raising kids like raising Pokemon. Oh, I'm sorry, you have low sports IVs. What about int IVs? Timid nature. Honey, let's try again with another egg. This backs up a lot of what I've observed anecdotally. Ever since people my age, Gen X, and younger have started having kids, dads have noted that people from older generations want to give them some kind of medal just for spending time with their kids. Are you on babysitting duty? Quote, no, they're my own kids, helping out mom today. Are we? Quote, why would I ever not be? TV and movies haven't caught up to the new reality either. See the still common cliche of, oh no, dad's been left alone with the kids, with ensuing wackiness disaster. That babysitting one pisses me off so bad. Also, until very recently Amazon Family was called Amazon Mom in the US, but Amazon Family in most of the Rest of the world. After moving and discussing with my wife how much I hated my new job, we decided I could quit and watch the kids instead of them going to daycare. It has been some of the best time in my life getting to play with my kids every day instead of being burnt out from work when I get home. It's an opportunity I thank my wife for as often as I can because my father was always on business trips and always tired. Out of curiosity, how hard was it compared to work? Edit. I'm never having children. Completing my PhD was easier. For another comparison, I've also worked in industry, and would say it's easier. No one is really telling you why though. Imagine the most vague or ambiguous project your professor or boss has ever assigned you. Now imagine that you care about that executing that project successfully more deeply than anything else in your life. Now imagine that you have zero training in the subject area of the project. Now imagine that the project yells at you every time you make a mistake. Now instead of a semester, or 6 months or whatever project duration, it never ends, ever. Welcome to fatherhood, and actually forcing yourself to put in the dull, hard, unrewarding parts of the work it takes to raise a kid. Now imagine that this all sounds terrifying and awful before the kid arrives, but eventually you would never change a thing. Sounds insane, but it's the truth. Raising a human being from scratch is one of the coolest projects you could ever take on. That doesn't mean it's for everyone, or that there aren't risks, or that a child-free life is somehow less, or it just is what it is. I'm about 2 years into my PhD. Me and my wife have been deciding if we want to try for a baby. Now while I'm home more of the day, but already exhausted from my research, or wait till I finish, but then would have a 9-to-5 job. Skip to the last paragraph for TLDR because I've got a lot of thoughts and experience. So my answer to your question is definitely going to depend on a lot of factors. But I'll give you the best advice I can and you can follow it with Q because this timing is one of the most important decisions of your life. For all three of you. First and foremost, when people say it's hard but doable, that's not really describing the flavor of pain and stress that's about to be dropped on you. I had a healthy child, and if I had to pick between reliving his first 3 months and taking a penalty kick from Cristiano Ronaldo to the nuts, I take the kick. I'd take 10 kicks, and that's with a healthy one. If the kid has complications and is in the NICU, you won't want to do any work, and your path forward will be even harder. There are truly a ton of unpredictable factors. I've finished engineering projects without sleeping for 38 hours. I've driven across the country and back without sleeping for 42. I say this not as a weird brag but so you have context when I tell you. His first 2 weeks were so much harder than either of those. I thought diapers would be hard and sleep deprivation would be easy. I was wrong. My child would have cracked the toughest prisoner in Gizmo. I promise you. Running on 2-hour nights of sleep for weeks on end will really bury you. Now imagine that you're going through all of the above but you went to the gym and squatted so much weight you're recovering from a torn butthole. Welcome to your wife's world. There's a reason Spartan women dying in childbirth were buried with the soldiers. Whatever you feel, want, need, your wife needs it worse at that time. I promise. So you're going to have to be more selfless than you've ever been. I promise you. I'm not trying to scare you. The amount of family time that America provides for new parents is frankly barbaric compared to the rest of the developed world. And having a kid in grad school is a wonderful opportunity to spend more time as a family unit. But your work will, or should, slow to a crawl during that time. At least the first 3 months. Note that your experience will also be strongly affected by the support network to have around you. I'm as close to my in-laws as my parents now because when crap hit the fan during the end of my PhD, had to rerun thousands of experiments in a few weeks. They covered for me big time. The best success stories I've heard about having kids in graduate school are when they come immediately after the first milestone. Because the truth is, now that my son is 9 months he's manageable and ready for babysitting. I gather you're in some sort of computer science program. So, whatever your last milestone before the defense is, 12, comps, prospectus, whatever, aim for the kid to come right after that. Which means you start shooting your shot 9 months before that time. That means you'll knock out the last milestone. Slow your work to a crawl. Spend 3 months supporting your wife. And slowly transition back into work to ramp up for final projects, experiments and dissertation writing. To be honest, I would divide the phases into the first 2 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, and beyond. You will be unreachable the first 2 weeks. and you won't get much done the first 3 months. My advice would be to wait a bit. If your wife knows you're serious, she should be okay with this compromise. You knock a kid out to arrive right after the last milestone. She is over a year old during your dissertation defense. And by that time they're ready for daycare, babysitting, fancy Montessori depending on your job. Rather than be called back to work in a month tops because America hates families. You'll have the flexibility and freedom to balance things as you wish. My Phil is a great guy but would often call me Mr. Mom when he saw me giving our first kid, his first grandkid, a bottle. Despite having 3 kids, he had never changed a diaper either. He would never admit it, but I think he feels a little embarrassed by his lack of baby knowledge. Be honest, he just done what was the norm when he was younger, but I think after seeing me with my kids he kinda thought, oh, I could have done that too. My wife and I moved to a new state when our son was 1.5. And I took a year off to be a stay-at-home dad. It was an amazing, though stressful, experience, but I would run into the occasional momsplainer who would try to walk me through the basics of watching a kiddo at the park. I took off 3 months for my first kid and just finished 3 months with my second. It was awesome, but I can't imagine a year of it. It is so stressful. Also, I never got the momsplaining, but I definitely got looks at the kid place when I was the only dad, and I felt and feel pretty left out at daycare when all the moms hang out and pretty much avoid me. Hopefully this trend continues and more dad groups pop up or more mom groups open up to dads more. You don't want to hang out with those moms. Millennial dads wish their fathers spent more time with them. That's why I spend time with my kids. My dad just left for work every day and came home tired every night to watch the Weather Channel. He was a great dad, but not a very attentive one. Same here. My dad showed love by working hard and sacrificing himself for the family. I just wish he had been able to be there and enjoy the quiet moments a bit more. I worked hard in my 20s to structure my 30s around family and not job. I have no regrets even if it costs me money in the long run. No amount of dollars can buy an hour of time with your father. And that is reflecting in the up-and-coming generation of dads. I just phoned my dad to ask if I gave him $100 would he spend an hour with me. He said, "Why are you offering me dollars? We're not even American, you freaking idiot." That's great. Now if only we could get that 4-day work week so we can spend extra time with the kids and clean out the gutters. Freaking gutters. I recently thought about this from a bit of an observer perspective. I was raised by a single mother and other kids would often ask me if I'm not sad about not having a dad, which I wasn't since he was never in the picture. How would I even know what I'm missing? The answer to which should be because I saw other kids interact with their dads. But I didn't really. I would spend a fair amount of time hanging out at the places of my friends and I didn't even meet some of their fathers ever, and when I did it was usually just a short greeting followed by them watching TV and us kids not being allowed to disturb dad because he is tired from work. Goddamn millennials and their attentive parenting. Thanks for watching Rad 2. Like and subscribe for daily Reddit videos. If you like these videos, check out the original Rad channel.